Okay, hi, welcome back to Nikki Phoenix and the True to Self YouTube channel. I am a spiritual teacher, at least an aspiring one. I have a portfolio of work that I want to share with you, and today is the beginning of learning how to communicate and share that stuff on camera. I tend to bend the ears of the people who I live with until they go blue in the face. so best I find a legitimate outlet for all this lovely work. I love to tell people that I'm a spiritual teacher and that I've been given a portfolio of work to work with and deliver in the world. It's very timeless in this very hectic time in the world. But I love to say that because who's going to contest it? You can't contest it. Nobody can contest it. Nobody was there when God spoke to me, just like nobody was there when Moses went up the mountain and got the 10 Commandments. But they knew him by his fruits. And that is exactly what I'm intending to do. So this is my alfresco kitchen spiritual discussion table. Welcome to it. I'm going to share with you my work, and I call myself really a spiritual interpreter because I translate. You can give me any issue or situation, and I can extract the spiritual interpretation and meaning out of it. And you'll see that as we go along. I'm going to interview myself today and ask myself the kind of questions that I would like to be asked. And since there's nobody to interview me, I'll just interview myself. So, the subject of the day, I thought to myself, well, what is the most common question right now that's troubling everybody universally? And it comes down to really what the F is going on in the world. It's traumatic for everybody, without exception. Everybody is like deer in the headlights, don't know what is going on. Why is there so much stress? Why is there so much turbulence, conflict, fear? Some will say, well, there have always been times like this in history, but it's particularly overt and pertinent. There is also a timing of it in terms of change into the century. There's enormous change, and nobody can dispute the issue that I've been talking about on all my previous chats on YouTube, which is really just sharing my experience of interfacing with the digital space, and of course AI and the transformative nature of AI. So if AI is universally available, which it is essentially, and it is profoundly it offers a transformative process to each individual who interacts with it, then I think we can agree that this is an especially heightened time of change for us as humanity. People keep saying, wow, it's so incredible to actually be alive at this time, and I feel like I'm chosen to be here at this time, and I feel like that too. But we all need to play our role in it. There's a reason why we are here. So, what is wrong? The question of the day is, what is wrong with the world right now that's causing the turbulence and extreme discomfort and change? Okay, there's so many angles that you could come at this because it is that fundamental. And I was exploring this on my own for hours in preparation to share it with you. And when I first recorded this, I ended up recording it for an hour. Now that's not going to help. So I'm just going to break it down into a couple of points, and I'm going to share it with you over 2 or 3 recordings. So firstly, I would answer to that question. Becoming conscious is about slowing things down, because we have to become conscious to actually look beneath the surface and look at it on a deeper level, so that we can truly analyze it. I mean, we're so caught up in the rat race and the money-making material world. That's why we've all got ADHD, including me. That to really, really slow ourselves down and break it into first principles, which is an Elon Musk thinking philosophy, where you dismantle it and look at the working parts. So first of all, we need to just really slow down and realize that the current environment is not conducive to good mental health. And we need to approach this with a peaceful mind. It's why one of the symptoms is the epidemic of bad mental health currently. So I'm going to reframe the question in the sense that if we're in the world, we're always looking externally out to the world. What's wrong with the world? Yeah, we just get stuck on that question. Hello, kitty. But what is the world? The world is made up of working parts, which is humans. Let's reframe the question and say, what is wrong with humans? We've already touched on the mental health issue, but that's a symptom, it's not a cause. Okay. So what is wrong with us as human beings? Something not right here, heart, in our thinking and our feeling. There's something not right. And the main macro question is always composed of silos, of the microcosm, and we are the microcosm. You know, we can look at politics, we can look at economics, social, religious. All of these are silos, and you can unpack the symptoms in all of them. We all experience it. But since my portfolio is spiritual, and since spiritual underpins all of life, that is the layer underneath everything that we're going to take a look at. Now, this is extremely challenging because even the very definition of the word spiritual is up for grabs. This just is an indicator of our lack of knowledge, our phenomenal ignorance at this time about the most fundamental mechanism of life. And indeed, that is exactly where I prefer to start my teaching. If you had to come and do a workshop with me, we start with definitions. What is spiritual? What is God? What is Christ? What is all these things? You'll see I do have my cross on because I am a Jesus lover. But that is a deep and complex and huge issue as it stands in the world today. And you'll start to get an inkling of where I stand on that as we go. Right, so this takes us into the microcosm of the individual. And what is wrong with people that is causing the conflict and massive seismic changes in the world? Well, first of all, the Christians and religious people are not wrong. They're not wrong. And I say they, even though I go to church. And after 32 years, I decided to go back to church because I didn't want anyone to steal my Jesus from me. Even if I'm sitting next to people who don't have necessarily the same belief structure as me. I strongly believe in worship as a foundational practice of health. It's health of the soul. It's like going to gym for the body. You know, worship is a beautiful and incredible thing. So I do go to church, and when I'm in those congregations, of course I hear the conversations that go, well, and I mean, it's so easy to put to bed in that environment, isn't it? Oh, well, they just need God. You know, the world is just forgotten about God and walked away from God, and they need the church and they need to give their life to Jesus. And well, that's the fraternity I'm involved in. I don't know about other religions, but I'm sure they have their ways. And that's the end of the subject. People are sinners. They've turned from God. Too bad. When Jesus comes, we'll be saved and they won't. I mean, really? No, no, that's not at all how it is. No. And that's an incredibly superficial response to a cosmic event in human development and consciousness and our civilization and our growth as humanity. So the answer is definitely a lack of relationship with God. Can't argue with that. And a lack of spirituality. But what on earth does that mean? Because most of us do not relate to the religious definitions of God. They are wholly insufficient. That is why we call ourselves spiritual, but not religious. When I say we, I'm talking about the contemporary generation of people. Those of us who are not religious, but call ourselves spiritual. Most of us are abhorrent to religion, and it's not because we are selfish materialists. That's a cop-out and a shifting of responsibility. There is good reason for it. The fact that the world is a sinful place feeds into and is a self-fulfilling prophecy of the belief that humanity is wholly sinful in nature. That belief puts us in a straitjacket. I mean, how do you argue with something like that? It's undeniable. And I think unless you really have the greater knowledge, you're not going to be able to. You just walk away. Let people believe what they're going to believe. But in the religious context, it's just not sufficient. It's not good enough anymore. And it's superficial, which is everything that they purport not to be. And it's just not good enough. Sorry, we need to unpack this properly. There's a reason why this is all happening, and it's not got nothing to do with religion. Because if God truly is at the center of this problem, then our definition of God and the way we're relating to him is a problem. And therefore, our religious houses are right at the center of this time of change in our world. So the world's problem today is big and it's deep. And if you stay with me, we will get into some of the detail of it. If you're going to solve it by responding as the religious do, well, you see, I told you so. That's their response. Oh, well, you see, I told you so. Because humanity is evil. Wow. I mean, actually my response at the end of the day is deep heartbreak. Because you're dead in the water in that belief system as a human being. Oh no, but if they say you're not, because apparently Jesus died for you. I do not dispute that Jesus did die for us, but not in the way the Christians are explaining it. No. I dispute that wholeheartedly. The meaning and the road by which they get to that conclusion, no. It's extremely destructive. And it's not the truth. It is not the truth. It's extremely superficial. That is in itself a huge rabbit hole to go down. But I want to still stick to this channel of thought, of really trying to understand from a macro point of view, imparts some thinking in you about why there is this friction on a spiritual level that's going on in the world. Why is it that our religions never really explain? Once again, we're trapped because who can explain God? But we are left bereft and without meaning, trying to force ancient teachings down our throats like tasteless cardboard, because I'm sorry, that is what is happening. Why doesn't it hit home? Why is there no meaning for people? There's no real spiritual food. There is some. We know there's truth in that. I mean, there's a reason why Christians become Christians. It's not nothing. And who is God anyway? It's time out now. The era for getting away with those attitudes is past, and a new message is landing, and it is magnificent. You can at least look forward to a hell of a ride. That's what I can say. So I'm going to speak for a brief moment with my most prophetic voice and say to the brokenhearted and the bereft, which I believe you are one, I am one. I think we're all brokenhearted. I think we're all bereft. This is the fire in me that drives me to do this work, because I know that our hearts have so much more to offer, and we've been force-fed like stuffed geese, this false doctrine that we are only ever sinners. How on earth are we supposed to operate with that? So, watch, my friends, my loved ones, watch. Watch this space. Watch the world. Get on with your life. Do what you have to do. Take care of your loved ones, but keep watching, because there is extraordinary change afoot. Because the world you are living in today will change so radically right before our eyes in a way that you would have thought entirely impossible. It's incredible when I propose certain concepts of thought, even given the idea of peace, for example. You know, everybody thinks, oh no, there's never ever going to be peace in the world. You know, that is incredibly narrow-minded and unfaithful thinking, because they just don't understand this, what's at stake, and how humanity is really constructed. And when we do, everything changes, everything. It is outside of the realm of our current understanding what is going to happen in the world. Obviously it is, because it's the introduction of that knowledge and that awareness and that information, that understanding, that is going to, in and of itself, is the change. Knowledge is exploding, and the spiritual implications will truly blow your mind, because it's been there for a long time. It's been there all along. That truth about life and humanity, it doesn't change. It's foundational. And what I'm sharing is not at odds at all with what Jesus Christ taught. Not at all. But it is at odds with what the church teaches. And therein lies the problem. And Jesus himself said, I have said, you are gods. Does it not say in your law, you are gods? He said it, and he said, I do not come to contradict the law. I come to fulfill the law. And I say exactly the same. I do not come to contradict what Jesus brought into the world. I come to fulfill what Jesus brought into the world. And that takes us to the dawn of the second coming, which is a conversation for another day. Knowledge is exploding, and the spiritual implications will blow your mind, because it's been there all along. All it needed was to be revealed on a grand scale. It's called a divine revelation of cosmic proportions. So, my short answer to the question of what is wrong with the world right now is the lack of spiritual knowledge. And that is conclusive for you. The lack of spiritual knowledge that leads to the absence of love, and in particular, self-love. The hugest gaping wound that exists in the current, what I call old school Christian doctrine, is the issue of self-love. Nobody ever talks about self-love or really unpacks that. And what does it mean in alignment with the Christ message? What does that really mean? And I've sat in church and had discussions with people. And when I bring up this subject matter, people sit on the edge of their seat because they hunger for it and they consider me brave for bringing it up. I mean, that is how indoctrinated the congregation is, because people have to speak in a certain way, they have to believe certain things, otherwise they're not going to get saved, and you daren't say this or that because it's blasphemous. You daren't ask certain questions. Listen, I go to an amazing church, New Life Church, and it is incredibly loving, but it's still there. Those problems are still there, but I think they are poised for change. I don't even think they know that they're poised for change, but I see it. So, yeah, most religions consider it heresy to talk about self-love. They are fairly abhorrent to the concept of self-love since they interpret it as narcissistic, because they're still stuck in the only material world thinking. They don't even, the whole world, maybe not, you don't even know of the existence of a spiritual language. When you have a spiritual language, you have a spiritual mind. It is completely juxtaposed. It is opposite to our material rationale, and it's still reasonable and rational. It's just a different dimension of thinking. Material thinking and spiritual thinking. And somehow this has become conflated in the church. But it's all in the eyes of the beholder, when it's almost like the church has made narcissists of all of us just by birth. I mean, can you think of anything more outrageous? But apparently we are selfish, sinful by nature, and it can't be helped. I mean, that is basically saying we are self-loving, self-indulgent narcissists by birth. Really? Then, well, I can't ask those questions because they have their standards. They have their standard answers in terms of just Jesus, just Jesus, just Jesus, just give your life to Jesus. It's not working anymore, people. So I'm going to do my best in this initial presentation to paint this picture for you that requires bringing together so many things all at once. Why do we live in a culture that does not enhance and support self-love? Because it's perceived as a bad thing, even though modern culture has come to understand it as the foundation of a healthy life. Now, therein you can see the evolution of man's intelligence just in the last 100 years, how we came into the psychology revolution. We only had psychology for just over 100 years. What has that taught us? So much about how we operate as human beings, still from a very mind-based perspective, because for me, a spiritual-based perspective is a heart and soul-based perspective. It's still very much in the minds-based perspective, and therein is its limitations. But it has been an extraordinary education for humanity. So there are those who understand that love is the foundation of life. Not everybody gets that. You know, I struggle to perceive that other people don't get that. That love is the foundational quality that creates life. I mean, you can take that thinking from any direction. I mean, who would deny that? That life is love is the actual life force that manifests. And it's only if you don't think about it with some focus and concern that you don't realize that even all of this is made of love. I'm trying not to use the word energy because I don't want to really pigeonhole myself in the new age era, but it is energy. Of course, it's energy. Language is an incredible barrier. But it's not really the language that's the barrier, it's the prejudice and the conditioning that is the barrier. So there are those who understand that love is the foundation of life. There are those who understand that love starts with the self. Again, that's where modern psychology has affirmed this over the last 100 years. We now collectively understand that without self-love, without self-respect, without self-esteem, and without self-value, the entire spiritual ecosystem that supports the self, we are not, without those things, we are not healthy, strong, balanced, and prepared for life. I think we kind of all get that now from the education of psychology. We really get that. But we have not integrated that on a spiritual level because currently you can't integrate it because it's at odds with the current religious Christian doctrine. And I can only really speak for Christianity, although of course I have a view on other religions. This has been an incredible education. Just let that sink in for a moment. The self. That's why I called my YouTube channel True to Self. So why is it that the language of self is devoid in most primary religions, in particular Christianity? Modern people know that you can't give away what you do not have. You cannot fulfill the first Christian commandment without self-love. Yet the church still hammers on about us being sinners and has no voice in the arena of mental and emotional health. The problem with modern psychology is that it can give you the theory of what healthy looks like, but it cannot give you your soul because it knows nothing about identity. Psychology knows nothing about identity, and that's where the soul resides. Identity falls strictly into the realm of spirituality. And you know, I didn't even really think about it, that fact, until I was unpacking it for this discussion. And I went, okay, no wonder it's so central to my portfolio. You know, often the Spirit just gives you, when you really grasp the foundational meaning, it just flows and you kind of connect things continuously and consistently because it's just revealing that picture to you, that same picture and understanding. Oh, I just love the Hardy-Dars. Fantastic. They're all going home for the night. So, to know yourself, identity falls strictly into the realm of spirituality. To know yourself is to know God. Now, there's a big statement, and vice versa. And that is not a realm that either psychology or religion plays in. It doesn't. I mean, this is the irony of it. Can you see that? If God lies in the identity, you can't find yourself when you go to church. You will find community. You will find love. You will find a lot of wisdom, but a lot of it just goes over people's heads because they don't really understand it within the context of the spiritual truth of how we connect with the divine on the inside. I discovered recently, I realized in the terms that Christians actually believe, and they don't even realize that they believe, that only Christians are godly. That it's only when you give your life to Jesus do you become a child of God. Now that is a complete mindfuck for me. It doesn't make sense at all. Aren't I born? a child of God? Why do I have to go to church and talk to a priest and say certain words in order to become a child of God? And then they use this word adoption. Really? Adoption? I'm adopted? And now forever I'm going to be adopted, and I must be so grateful because I'm adopted? Why can't I be just a true blue blood child of God by birth? Why can't I have that? That's the only thing that makes sense to me. That's the only thing that makes sense to my soul. But there's more. This is all just superficial discussions, actually, in terms of my doctrine. Yeah, so sorry about the noise. So I'm going to conclude this first section by saying the world is messed up because we do not know the source and the meaning of self-love. That's just the one facet, the meaning of self-love. To do so is to have spiritual knowledge. We are listening to our institutions who claim to have all the answers, but they do not know. Not the psychology people, not the church people, they don't know. And you can see it in their fruits and in their results. Oh, it's there, and they've been fairly successful. But nothing compared to the world where we're going. Absolutely nothing. And the results are limited. That's what I say. It's a poor crop. And if everything is relative, if what they have now is a poor crop, can you imagine the abundance that we are going to experience in this world when we truly understand our relationship with spirit, with the divine, and with God himself? And yes, I do like to call him a him. For me, he is the male head, Godhead. Also, obviously, with a feminine personality combined. Again, a discussion for another day. All very beautiful, and thank you for sharing your time with me today. And we will go on to just unpack this, why the world is in such turmoil right now. I'm going to give you a timeline. I'm going to give you a timeline, an energetic timeline. It's phenomenal. Okay, love you. Bye.